All right, would you turn the camera on the lady's side? Turn it so I can see them. Thank you. Okay, good morning, everyone. This is your first appearance hearing before the Magistrate Court of Clayton County. And hold on. Stop. Jesus. All right. My name is Brad Gardner, and I'm a judge in this court. I'm not here to conduct a trial of your case or to take a plea in your case. I am here to inform you of the charges that have been filed against you, to advise you of certain rights, to set bail on those offenses that I'm authorized to set bail, to schedule a preliminary hearing, and to determine whether you require the assistance of an attorney. You have the right to remain silent and say nothing. But should you give up this right, anything you say during this proceeding may be used against you if your case goes to trial. So please don't discuss the facts of your case. During this and all other proceedings, you have the following rights: the right to the presumption of innocence, the right to indictment by a grand jury for most felonies or by accusation for misdemeanors, the right to a speedy and public trial by jury, the right to see, hear, and question witnesses who are called to testify against you, the right to compel the attendance of witnesses to testify on your behalf, the right to testify on your own behalf or offer evidence in your own defense, the right to have an attorney represent you. If you cannot afford an attorney, one can be appointed to represent you if you qualify. Some of you will be allowed to post unrestricted bonds for your release from jail. These bonds may be posted by cash, commercial, or property. If you post a cash bond, someone will deliver the full amount of the bond and fees in cash to the sheriff's office. Excuse me. The sheriff's office will hold the cash and return it at the end of the case. If you use a commercial bonding company, someone will have to pay a fee to the company for their service. The fee will not be returned. I don't know what fee will be charged, but it is usually based upon a percentage of the bond. Finally, if you use property to post a bond, the property will need to have a net equity at least 3 times the total amount of the bond. Some of you will have special conditions on your bond that prohibit you from contacting certain people or going to certain places. This special condition will be provided to you on a separate form. You will also be prohibited from contacting the victim while you are in jail. If you violate the court's order, your bond will be revoked and you can remain in jail until your trial. You could also receive additional felony charges. It is important to note that if someone is listed as a victim in your case, that person will not be allowed to post your bond. Some of you are charged with offenses for which this court is not authorized by law to set bail. In this event, a bond hearing will be scheduled before a judge of the Superior Court of Clayton County, and you will be informed of that date. If you are currently on active probation, this court is not authorized to set bond at this time. Where the bond is appropriate in your case will be reconsidered after your probation officer has had an opportunity to consider this new arrest. The purpose of a preliminary hearing is to determine whether there is sufficient evidence to support the allegations against you. The standard at this stage is very low. A judge determining whether a charge goes forward at this stage only has to determine that it is possible that the crime occurred. Everyone has the ability to waive their right to a preliminary hearing. However, you should speak to a lawyer first if you are unsure about whether it is appropriate to waive your preliminary hearing. If you post bond, your preliminary hearing is automatically waived. You will receive notice at the address you give of your next court date. Lastly, I need everyone to raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm any statements you make during this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Okay, let's get started with the ladies.
Please be seated. Please. Name. First day.
Hey, Burley, let Miss McWilliams go first so she can get.
McWilliams? McWilliams. Yes. So, okay, that's fine. Your phone's camera out. Right, oh, no, this one, this one face the camera. Oh, stand right here, this way. Oh. Okay. Here we go. No,
You said Mac Williams?
yes.
Okay.
No, stand right there. The camera's right here. No,
Miss McWilliams, ma'am, you're charged with 1 count of criminal damage to property in the second degree. Bond is going to be set at $5,000. Do you believe you can post that bond?
Yes.
There's going to be a stay away provision on the bond to stay away from a Kiera Lewis. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Your preliminary hearing date is going to be set for August 16th at 8:30 in the morning because this is a felony offense. And that preliminary hearing will get waived upon your bonding out and you'll get a new court date in the mail. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You're close to the line, ma'am, but I'm going to find that you do qualify. So I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. Do you have any questions for me, Ms. McWilliams?
No.
Okay, ma'am, you're free to go back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Christian? Give me a mic.
Yeah.
Ms. Christian, ma'am, you've been charged with 1 count of kidnapping, 1 count of theft by taking, 1 count of cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, and 1 count of battery. I cannot by law set bond on the kidnapping at this juncture. So bond is going to be denied on that. And I'm also denying bond on the felony theft by taking. I've set a bond of $3,000 on the cruelty to children in the 3rd degree, and I've set a bond of $5,000 on the battery charge. You're going to have a preliminary hearing date that's going to be set for August 16th at 8:30 in the morning. You're going to also have a bond hearing date set for August 20th.
Here,
Do you
the only
have any?
thing I know is it looks like
Hold on one second.
it's
I'm
moving
sorry.
around, but I don't know. Nobody's got it.
Do you have any questions of me, ma'am? Okay. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
Yes.
Okay, you do qualify, ma'am. I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. If you don't have any questions, you're free to go back.
Ms. Culpepper?
Ms. Culpepper, ma'am, you've been charged with 1 count of simple battery. I've set the bond at $5,000. Do you believe you can post that bond?
Yes, sir.
There's going to be a stay away provision on the bond to stay away from an Antonio Culpepper. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Your preliminary hearing date is going to be set for August 17th at 8:30 in the morning, but that date will get waived upon your bonding out and you'll get a new court date in the mail. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
You do qualify, ma'am. I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, sir. For the address, like that's my dad's. Like, do I need to change that address for it to be mailed to?
Yes. So the stay away provision is related to the person. So if Mr. Culpepper lives there, you will not be allowed to live there while he's
I
there.
understand.
I'm
Yes, sir.
sorry.
I understand that. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can go wherever, if he's someplace else and he lives someplace else, the stay away provision is not related to any physical address. It's just related to the person. And at some point, if he wants this to be removed, he can contact the Solicitor General's office and tell them that he wants it to be removed, and they will look into it and most likely remove it.
Okay. I got one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Like, since that's my dad and like he's like low key the only one person that could like somewhat bail me out. Because before I pulled away in the cop car, he was like, that he would still help me. I don't know, like, cause I'm just listening to what you're saying.
Right.
Like, how would that work? Like,
Well, so the short answer is the reason for these stay away provisions in these types of situations is we don't know what led to the police being called, right? My wife and I have arguments all the time. We don't ever hit each other, choke each other, do any of the other stuff that people end up doing that allow the police into their lives. I don't want to be in your life. The police don't want to be in your life. And ideally, you and your father, after this, can reach a stage where nobody else will ever be in your life when you have a disagreement. And that's the short answer. The long answer is that your father now is listed as a victim and you are listed as an offender. And so moving forward, as long as this case is active and that kind of stuff, that's going to be the nature. So if your father is happy with you today and says, I want this provision to be removed, but your father is upset with you on Thursday or Friday, the whole thing could change. And so because I don't know you, because I don't know your father, I'm just letting you understand that you are the offender and he's the victim until this case is resolved. So if your father is the type of person that changes like a weather vane and he's happy today, but Friday he's mad at you, you may go back to jail. You may end up back in jail. I don't know. You just have to govern yourself accordingly, okay? Okay. Any other questions, ma'am?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, you're free to go back.
Ms. Dennis?
Ma'am, you're charged with 1 count of battery and 1 count of aggravated assault. I cannot set bond on the aggravated assault at this stage, so bond's going to be denied on that charge. I've set a $5,000 bond on the battery charge. There's going to be a preliminary hearing date set for August 16th at 8:30 in the morning. There's also going to be a bond hearing date set for August 20th. There's going to be a stay away provision on this bond to stay away from Antonio Alexander. Do you understand that? Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
Yes.
If you qualify, ma'am, I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. Do you have any questions for me?
No, sir.
Okay, you're free to go back.
State your name to the camera.
You are Miss Watkins.
Yes.
Ma'am, you've been charged with 1 count of simple battery. Bond is going to be set at $3,000. Do you believe you can post that bond?
Yes.
There's going to be a preliminary hearing date set for August 17th at 8:30 in the morning. That date will get waived upon your bonding out and you'll get a new court date in the mail. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
Yes.
All right, you do qualify, ma'am. I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. There's going to be a stay away provision on this bond to stay away from Chantil Bryant. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you have any questions for me, ma'am?
No, sir.
Okay, ma'am, you're free to go back.
Thank you.
That concludes, the female side, Your Honor.
Thank you, Deputy Jones. Have a good day.
You too. With me, Your Honor.
All right, let's switch over to the male side.
Your Honor, can we let Mr. Aaron go last?
Yes, sir.
All right, so first we'll have Mr. Alexander.
Okay. Mr. Alexander, you've been charged with 1 count of disorderly conduct. The bond is going to be set at $1,500. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe you can pay that bond?
Yes, sir, I can.
There's going to be a stay away provision to stay away from Shanquisha Dennis. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about that?
Any questions?
I said, do you have any questions about that?
Can I talk to General Solicitor about this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Your preliminary hearing date is going to be set for August 17th at 8:30 in the morning. That date will get waived upon your bonding out and you'll get a new court date in the mail. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
I already have one, sir.
Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
No, sir, you said 1,500, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and can I pay
Okay.
like through a bail bond, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. You're free to go back, Mr. Alexander.
Understood.
Next is Mr. Coleman.
Mr. Coleman, you've been charged with 1 count of driving on a suspended license, 1 count of driving a vehicle with an expired tag, 1 count of not having your license on person, and 1 count of giving a false name, address, or date of birth. I'm going to dismiss the license not on person charge because either you are on a suspended license or you don't have a license. So you're going to have a total bond set at $4,000. Do you believe you can post that bond?
Yes.
There's going to be a preliminary hearing date set for August 17th at 8:30 in the morning. That date will get waived upon your bonding out and you'll get a new court date in the mail. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
Yes.
You're on the line, but I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. Do you have any questions for me, Mr. Coleman? Okay, you're free to go back, sir.
Next is Mr. Collins.
Mr. Collins, sir, you're charged with 1 count of driving on a suspended license. Bond is automatically set at $1,500. Do you believe you can post that bond?
That's 150, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You're going to have a preliminary hearing date set for August 17th at 8:30 in the morning, but that date will get waived upon your bonding out and you'll get a new court date in the mail. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer, Mr. Collins?
Yes, sir.
All right, you do qualify, sir. I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. Do you have any questions for me?
No, sir.
All right, you're free to go back.
Next is Mr. Dean.
Mr. Dean, sir, you're charged with aggravated assault, simple battery, cruel to children in 3rd degree. Cannot set bond on the aggravated assault charge at this time, but I've set a bond of $5,000 for the simple battery and $3,000 for the cruelty to children. There's going to be a stay away provision on your bond to stay away from Josetta Dean. Do you understand that?
So, let me finish. Yeah, you let you ask question after.
Would you repeat that, please, Mr. Dean? I couldn't hear it.
I was saying, you saying it's a stay away, so why we're not able to get a bond on the other charge?
So the stay away provision is placed on your bond, even though it's been denied for the aggravated assault, is because that includes your calling her from the jail. So if you were to call her from the jail, it would be a violation of the stay away provision that's placed on the bond, because you have a bond for simple battery, you have a bond for cruelty to children, and I can't set the bond on aggravated assault. So if you were to contact her from the jail, that would subject you to an aggravated stalking charge, which also carries no bond. So that's why that is in place, because people sometimes will decide that they're going to call the person from the jail, and it's she's an adult, she can do whatever she wants to do. You're an adult, you can do whatever you want to do. But from a court perspective, we don't like seeing people like you come before us. We'd rather you be at home with your wife, or if you and your wife are having problems, be someplace else.
So I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Why is it aggravated assault when I wasn't it wasn't like trying to kill, was no weapon, no nothing like that involved, and here I go with aggravated assault.
So the aggravated assault is being charged now related to uh, the full term would be aggravated assault by strangulation, because the allegation is you placed your arms around her neck to the point that it obstructed her airway, which is strangulation. And that is a charge, aggravated assault by strangulation. So that's kind of the factual basis for where you are.
So
You're gonna have a preliminary hearing date set for August 16th. You're gonna have a bond date set for August 20th. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
I guess so.
Okay, you do qualify, Mr. Dean. I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. And the thing to keep in mind is that the decision um, about bond is not based upon your guilt or innocence. There are charges that the legislature says a judge like me can't set bond for. So if you get slotted into that position, whether you walk away uh, free or whether you spend 20 years in prison, I can't set a bond for it. Okay?
So basically, I got to sit to the 20th to see if I get a bond.
Well, and that's what I'm saying about all I know is the allegations that are here. This could have been something where it was a two-way street or all kind of stuff that comes into play. Your wife may be like, I don't want to prosecute. I don't want to see this happen. The district attorney's office can consent to a bond and you could be out this week. But those are things that you would have to start that ball rolling, and for them to look at it and say, oh man, this officer overcharged this person. I do this weekend I did warrants overnight. So I got a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning to do a warrant. And then the officer calls back later and says, Judge, you know what? I talked to my supervisor. This is a juvenile. I never should have called you in the first place. The fact that you stand here accused doesn't mean you're guilty, but there are consequences. And that's why I tell people all the time, hey, just don't get into these fights and arguments and stuff. Just walk away. Because when you put your life in other people's hands, stuff like this happens. Okay? All right, you're free to go back.
Next is Mr. Dennis. No, that's a female, my bad. Next is Mr.
King?
Mr.
Yep.
King.
Mr. King, I cannot set bond for you also. You're charged with aggravated assault and simple assault. I've set a bond on the aggravated assault charge. I'm sorry, the simple assault charge of $3,000. And I've placed a stay away provision on the bond to stay away from a Cynthia. It looks like Ray V. And I don't know if it's Ray V or Ray, but I couldn't really understand the handwriting. And a stay away provision for Crystal Cordero. Do you understand that? Your preliminary hearing date is going to be set for August 16th at 8:30 in the morning. I've set a bond hearing date for August 20th. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer? Okay, you do qualify, sir. I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. Do you have any questions for me, Mr. King? Okay, you're free to go back, sir.
Next is Mr. Sanchez.
Sir, you've been charged with 1 count of reckless conduct and 1 count of criminal damage to property in the first degree, which is a felony. I've set the bond at $10,000 a piece, so that's a $20,000 total bond. Do you believe you can post that bond?
Yes, I can.
You're going to have a preliminary hearing date set for August 16th at 8:30 in the morning. The date will get waived upon your bonding out, and you'll get a new court date in the mail. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
All right, you do qualify, sir. I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. Do you have any questions for me?
Not right now.
Okay, sir, you're free to go back.
Next is Mr. Marks. I slide down.
Mr. Marks, you've also been charged with aggravated assault that I can't set bond at this stage. I've placed a bond on the battery, criminal trespass, and simple battery charges. So you're going to have a total bond on those charges of $11,000. I've placed a stay away provision on the bond to stay away from Emery Marks Sr. Do you understand that?
I am senior.
The way that they have it written is that junior went after senior, but you're saying you're senior?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So it's going to be a stay away provision on the bond to stay away from Emery Marks Jr.
Junior did go after senior.
How old is Junior?
He's 18.
Okay. Hmm. Hold on one second. I'm going back looking at your criminal history. I don't agree with generally arresting parents in this situation. The way that it was written up, it was as if you, as the parent, was going after. I'm sorry, that you, as the junior, was going after your parent. Okay, you don't have a criminal history.
No, sir.
All right, so I'm not gonna put you keep you in jail.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, aggravated assault is still it's a serious charge. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna set the bond at 10,000 on aggravated assault. So you're gonna have a total bond of $21,000. You believe you can post that bond?
I can try, Your Honor.
I'm not gonna place a stay away provision on this bond. Okay, Mr. Marks, I can't tell you what to do and how to live your life and that kind of thing. I mean, a person with no criminal history, I don't understand why you were arrested. I mean, I understand. I just don't believe that was the appropriate thing to do at that time. Okay, Mr. Marks. Do you understand what I'm doing, Mr. Marks? Do you understand what I'm my reasoning and
Yeah,
behind this?
I believe I understand, Your Honor.
The safest thing for me to do is to just keep you in jail. You have no criminal history. And I say safest is because there's no way in the world that that could be something that would fall back on me, right? Because you're in custody. More likely, people will be crying out in front of the courthouse talking about how Judge Gardner is doing their father or husband wrong. And I say all of that to say that I need you to understand the grace. And I say grace, but it may not sound like it, but it don't go out doing something stupid.
Will not.
Okay. I mean, because you and I both be on TV, but I don't, this isn't the way to do things, in my opinion. But the easiest thing to do is to treat like they say, a hammer looks at everything as a nail. And so the easiest thing is just go and smash stuff, smash stuff, smash stuff. I'm not going to do that. Okay. Do you
Yes,
have any questions, sir?
um, do I qualify for court appointed lawyer?
For a lawyer, uh, you're on the edge, but I'm gonna give find that you do qualify. So I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. Do you have any questions for me?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Mr. Marks, you're free to go back.
Next is Mr. Mosley.
Mr. Mosley, sir, you're charged one count of battery, one count of simple assault, family violence. I've set a total bond of $8,000. Do you believe you can post that bond?
No, sir.
There's going to be a stay away provision on the bond and stay away from Miriam Mosley. Do you understand that?
Miriam Mosley.
Miriam? Okay.
I have a question though, sir.
Let him finish. Yeah.
And we'll get to your question. Your preliminary hearing date is going to be set for August 16th at 8:30 in the, I'm sorry, 17th at 8:30 in the morning. The date will get waived upon your bonding out, and you'll get a new court date in the mail. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you do qualify, Mr. Mosley. I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. So what's your question?
Well, I explained to the arresting officer that um I never touched my wife, but I was arrested anyway. And
Okay.
I still don't understand that.
These are allegations which state has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. So I can get arrested today for spitting on the sidewalk. And if I say I've never been on that street, that's an alibi defense.
Even
You see what I'm saying?
sorry, sir.
No, do you see what I'm saying? Like you can be charged with doing anything. You can be in charge with killing Kennedy. You can be charged with whatever. It's whatever the officer chooses to do, the officer can do. And that's that's what I tell, because people sometimes they call the police basically on themselves because it's a disagreement, argument, or whatever, and they believe they're right. They call the police and then they end up getting arrested. And they're like, Judge, I call the police. I'm like, okay, but don't mean you can't get arrested. Do you see what I'm saying? You're asking, why did you get arrested? Because you didn't do anything. That's a defense. You're presumed innocent. Misdemeanor charges, you get a bond, you get a lawyer, you sit down with the lawyer and tell the lawyer everything so the lawyer can defend you.
But but I had to sit in here till August 17th. To
You,
explain
if you can't pay the bond, yes. And if, I mean, I know that sounds harsh, but that's how things work.
Yeah, that's kind of tough because I mean,
Let me ask you this: who called the police?
she called the police, but I was at a neighbor's house, so I didn't know the police was being called on. So when she came to my neighbor's house to get me, all she asked was for me to give her her house keys, in which I did that. But while she was on the phone with dispatch, I was telling them to bring the police because I really need to know why the police is being called on me, sir. There
I
wasn't.
never invite. I'm a judge, and I do not invite the police to my house because they can arrest me as a judge. Being a judge don't mean nothing. I don't invite the police to my house for any reason at all because it's a 25-year-old that has the ability to kill me if he wants to. So your wife called. What should that mean to you about that relationship?
What you say now?
You said your wife called the police. What does that tell you about your relationship with your wife? Should you move forward with this relationship, or should this be the point where you say, I have I've been a sinner, but now I see the light?
You know, I really do, especially when I haven't done anything.
So, Mr. Mosley, the thing that you have to understand is she knows you. I don't. She's the one that called the police on you. I didn't.
Yeah,
So you can sit here and tell me you're innocent and all of that stuff. I had nothing to do with you appearing before me at all. And you should think about the people in your life that care so little about you that they'll put you in this position.
yeah, you're right.
I, 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 I'm not your enemy. Deputy Cox sitting there, he's not your enemy. He has a job to do. I have a job to do. And neither one of us are the reason that you are here. All right. Is that sinking in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Mosley?
No, sir.
Okay. You're free to go back, sir.
What's your name? Singleton? Mr. Singleton?
Mr. Pack is OTB.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Singleton, sir, you're charged one count of criminal trespass. Bond has been set at $3,000. Do you believe you can post that bond?
Yes, sir.
There's going to be a preliminary hearing date set for August 17th at 8:30 in the morning. That date will get waived upon your bonding out, and you'll get a new court date in the mail. Do you want me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You do qualify, sir. I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. Do you have any questions for me, Mr. Singleton?
What would be the
150 to $200. Okay. All right, sir. You're free to go back.
Next is Mr. Solis.
So you charge one count of simple battery, one count of criminal trespass. I've set a total bond of $6,000. Do you believe you can post that bond?
What would that be?
It'll be about $600.
Yeah.
Your there's going to be a stay away provision to stay away from. It looks like it said Rodolfo Lara. Do you understand that?
Why is
I'm
that?
sorry.
Why is that since he was the aggravator?
This listed as you're the offender and this person is the victim. So I can't do anything as it relates to stay away provisions or anything with that person because that person is not before me. So what we try to do, as I said earlier, whatever led to your appearing before me today, we try to make sure that there are clear lines so that that doesn't happen because that doesn't benefit you. It doesn't benefit the public. doesn't benefit anybody. But if you were to go back, because you're gonna be able to bond out, you go back and then this person says something to you and you get upset. First thing we want in your mind to say, aggravated stalking. He can have that argument. I'm not going to deal with that. I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm sitting in jail until my trial because of this person. If this condition is not there, a fight ensues or whatever, disagreement, and that person calls the police because that's what people do and say, Mr. Solis, he came over to my house or he did this or he did that. And then now an officer looks in the system and said, oh, this guy just bonded out. So 9 times out of 10, you're going back in custody. And the person may have been telling 100% lie that they know that they're telling. So it's also to protect you at the same time. Now, with that being said, this person can say, look, this was just something that got out of hand. I love this dude. Hey, we ain't got no problems. They can call the Solicitor General's office and say, hey, there's a stay away provision. I want y'all to turn that into either no violent contact or to lift it. And they will look into it and say, this was something that got out of control. So we're going to take this provision away. But this is a one-sided situation where it's just you and I and Deputy Cox. Neither one of us was there. You're the only person there. So we can't make any value-based decisions. Okay? So your preliminary hearing date is going to be set for August 17th at 8:30 in the morning. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer?
Sure.
Okay, you do qualify. I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. Do you have any questions for me?
That's after, if I get bonded out, I gotta come back to the hearing.
Well, this case is either going to be what they call accused, which means formally charged, or it's going to be dismissed. The date that I just set for you is a date that once you bond out, that date goes away.
Okay, because he said he wants to drop the charges.
And that's something that happens a lot. I mean, it really does. And I just tell people, hey, don't call it. People, it's like the police are not here. And as a judge, I'm not here to try to referee adults with their lives. And so when you call, stuff starts happening. Okay. So if the person wants to dismiss the charges, it's really out of that person's hand at this point because it becomes state charges. So it's not up to that person anymore. It's up to the solicitor.
All right.
And that's like, and one day when you're able to speak to that person, just tell them, if you want to dismiss the charges, don't call the police in the first place. That's how you dismiss the charges, by not creating the charges. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. All right, sir. You're free to go back.
So I can get bonded out today?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right.
Message, Mr. Aaron.
Thank you.
Mr. Aaron, good morning, sir. You're charged with stalking and simple assault. $7,000 bond on the stalking, $3,000 bond on the simple assault for a total bond of $10,000. Do you believe you can post that bond?
I don't know.
Okay. There's going to be a stay away provision on the bond to stay away from Jamil Witherspoon. Do you understand that? Your preliminary hearing date is going to be set for August 17th at 8:30 in the morning. That date will get waived upon your bonding out and you'll get a new court date in the mail. Would you like for me to see if you qualify for the appointment of a lawyer? I'm sorry. Did you say yes?
Yes,
Okay. You do qualify, sir. I'm going to appoint a lawyer to represent you. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, sir, I do. Let me ask you, I've never met this person. I don't know, I don't know who it is. I'm my home resident. I was just pulling into my apartment from watching a fight. And it was a guy walking by and he was saying some things to me. And I was like, go ahead about your business. Go on about your business. So he kept saying things to me and I said some things back to him.
Right.
I scared him off of my property, ran him off. And I didn't touch him, I didn't say anything, because he was distance from me. I don't know this person, so stalking, I have no idea where that came from.
The stalking, the allegation basically, from what I've read, is that you was following the person around the apartment complex.
Oh,
I'm,
okay,
that's the allegation. Okay.
okay,
So that's where the whole stalking thing, because stalking is basically placing someone under surveillance or contacting them for the purpose of harassing or intimidating them. Just like I said, and maybe you heard with the other people, allegations are allegations, right? State has to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. That's why we appoint lawyers. That's why we do what we do. Okay. So that you have the best shot of putting your best foot forward to defend yourself against these allegations. But you're entitled to know what the allegations are. And that's why I always end every conversation with, do you have any questions? So that if you got a question, my job is to answer the question.
okay.
And that's what I try to do.
And another question, the other charge that I have, and you said, what was that?
Simple assault. And simple assault is basically where um, you don't touch somebody, but
Mhm.
you place them in a reasonable fear of receiving an immediate injury. So if I say to you, you know, take one another step, I'm going to F you up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
Uh,
Now, the more language I use, it can get into terroristic threat world.
mhm.
But the simple assault of me just making you be afraid to walk away, that's simple assault. So when you say you don't know anybody, know a person, the best thing in the world is to not say anything to that person. I don't blow my horn at people in traffic. I People blow their horns at me. They try to do whatever. I just wave and keep going because anything I say or do can get interpreted any kind of way. And the story will get told in a manner that's probably not the way that it happened. So you got to remember that if somebody, as you uh, pointed out, you don't know this person, somebody's come up and saying anything, you don't know what that person is capable of. You don't know if that person is a truthful person or a person that lies every two words. So when you engage, you're kind of like they say, don't get in a fight with the fool because it'll make you dumber and you're fighting on their territory
Yeah,
because they're fools all day. They're got PhDs in being a fool. And you jump into the middle of it, not understanding that this person every day they have the same interaction they're having with you, but it's just with a different person.
let me ask you, me being in my resident, and you know, I have kids there and a wife. What would be like the best way, like if somebody, like I felt harassed in front of my house, and I have to protect my family at all times.
You got to talk to your lawyer about that because we're getting into defense related questions that are specific to your case. But there is an answer, and I understand the question you're asking, but you're going to need to speak to your lawyer about that.
Okay.
Unless you got like, I don't come cheap. You got like $20,000. I'll take this robe off and come defend you.
I hope you can.
All
Well,
right, sir. Is there anything else?
the bond is 10,000, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how much you think that'll be like?
It'll probably be around 1,000. Bonding companies, they will work with you. Like they'll place you on a payment plan. They'll do all of these kind of things because that's their business model is getting people out of jail. So but you're just going to have to do the work of speaking to them.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, sir.
All right, sir. You're free to go back.
Okay, all right, that completes all the mails.
Thank you, Deputy